The twin suns of Xylar Prime rose slowly over the horizon, casting warm golden light across the palace and the forests beyond. Captain Adrian Cade stood beside Lyra on the balcony, his gaze sweeping across the sprawling city and the distant valleys. The events of the past days weighed on him, the council's scrutiny, the storm in the northern forests, and the slow but steady growth of trust between humans and Xylar. He felt a strange mix of exhaustion and anticipation. Today was the day they would confront the councils together, to show that their union was not only valid, but a symbol of hope for both civilizations. Lyra stood beside him, calm and composed, though Adrian could sense the tension beneath her serene exterior. "The council is ready," she said softly. "They have convened in the ceremonial hall. Some will resist, but many will watch closely for proof that our bond can work." Adrian nodded. "We have shown courage, care, and understanding. Let them judge our actions, not our species." The palace hall was vast and filled with Xylar elders and human diplomats. The walls were adorned with intricate designs that seemed to shimmer in the morning light, telling stories of Xylar history, culture, and achievements. Adrian felt a surge of respect for the artistry and the long heritage of the people who had created such a place. But he also understood that appearances were only part of the battle. Hearts and minds had to be one, and that required more than words. It required proof of character. The council began the proceedings. Elder Thaler, the eldest of the Xylar, spoke first. "Captain Cade, Lyra, your union has sparked much discussion. Many of us question the wisdom of such a bond. Humans and Xylar have different ways, and some traditions forbid this connection. Yet, recent events cannot be ignored." Adrian met the elder's gaze calmly. "I understand the concerns," he said, "and I did not come here to dismiss them, but I also come with actions that speak for my intentions. I have worked alongside Lyra to protect her planet, to ensure the safety of her people, and to learn their ways. I have not relied on force alone, but on respect, understanding, and cooperation. These are the qualities I bring as a human." The council murmured, some skeptical, some intrigued. Lyra stepped forward, her violet eyes shining with quiet confidence. "Our bond has been tested not by ceremony alone, but by challenge," she said. "When the northern forests were threatened, Captain Cade did not hesitate. He acted with bravery, wisdom, and care for life itself. In him, I see the qualities that our people need to embrace if we are to survive and thrive together." Adrian felt a subtle warmth in her words. He had trained for wars across galaxies, faced enemies that no one else dared approach. But the weight of this moment, the acceptance of trust between species, felt even more profound. He realized that heroism was not only about battle, but about understanding, patience, and integrity. One of the more conservative elders rose, his expression stern. "And yet, Captain, how can we trust a human? Your people have fought wars and brought destruction to planets. How can we believe that this bond will last?" Adrian took a slow breath. "I cannot erase the past of humans, nor do I claim perfection," he said. "But I can show what humans are capable of: courage, empathy, and the willingness to act for the good of others. I have chosen to act, not for conquest, but for preservation. That is the kind of human I bring to this bond. That is the kind of human I am." The room was silent, the air thick with tension. Even those who doubted could not deny the sincerity in his voice. Lyra's hand brushed lightly against his, a silent gesture of solidarity. Together, they were not just beings, they were a living example of unity in action. Then, Elder Thaler spoke again, his tone slower, thoughtful. "You have faced danger, you have respected our ways, and you have shown qualities rare among both humans and Xylar, perhaps. This union, though unconventional, can serve as a bridge between our peoples." The murmurs shifted, skepticism softening into curiosity. Other elders nodded, some exchanging glances. Adrian realized that the tide was turning. It was not acceptance born of convenience, but recognition of truth. Humans and Xylar could learn from one another, grow together, and even thrive in shared understanding. Later that day, Adrian and Lyra were allowed a private moment in the secret garden. The twin sun shone through the crystalline trees, casting dancing reflections across the pools. Lyra turned to Adrian, her expression soft but radiant. "You have done more than I could have imagined," she said. "Not only have you earned the trust of my people, but you have also shown me the depth of humanity. I see now that love and respect can overcome fear and tradition." Adrian smiled, feeling relief and joy intertwine. "And you have shown me that wisdom and patience are strengths as powerful as courage. Together, we can build something neither of us could alone." They walked slowly along the floating paths, hands brushing occasionally. It was a quiet intimacy, filled with unspoken understanding and trust. The bond they had forged was no longer tentative. It had become a source of strength for both of them and a model for their peoples. Over the following weeks, the councils worked together, inspired by Adrian and Lyra's example. Policies were adjusted, old customs reconsidered, and cooperation between humans and Xylar expanded beyond political necessity into shared exploration, education, and environmental stewardship. The palace, once a place of scrutiny and cautious observation, became a hub of collaboration and learning. Adrian found himself participating not just as a soldier, but as a representative of humanity's potential, resourcefulness, creativity, empathy, and courage. Lyra's guidance ensured that he navigated cultural nuances with grace, turning potential friction into opportunity for understanding. Together, they became a symbol of what was possible when hearts and minds worked in harmony across species. One evening, as the twin suns set, casting long shadows across the gardens, Adrian and Lyra stood overlooking the valley. Streams glowed softly, reflecting the colors of the sky, and small creatures, previously hidden, emerged to bask in the warmth of the evening. "Do you see that?" Lyra asked, pointing to a group of luminous birds dancing above the pools. "They are rare. They appear only when trust and balance exist in the environment." Adrian watched, amazed. "It's beautiful, just like this moment, and just like our bond." Lyra's hand found his again. "We have proven something important not only to our people, but to ourselves. Love, trust, and understanding are more powerful than fear or tradition. They can change worlds." Adrian nodded, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. "And that's what humans are capable of, too. We can create, protect, and inspire, not just through battle, but through heart and mind. This is the true strength of humanity." As night fell, they returned to the palace. The twin moons rose once more, reflecting softly in the pools of the secret garden. Adrian realized that while wars had taught him courage, and life had taught him endurance, it was this partnership with Lyra, with a world so different from his own, that had revealed the full scope of human potential. The councils had accepted their union. Their people had begun to see each other not as strangers, but as collaborators, as equals. And for Adrian and Lyra, the love that had once seemed forbidden was now a guiding light for countless others. In the quiet of their chamber that night, Adrian and Lyra sat together, hands entwined, hearts aligned. They spoke of dreams for the future, of shared exploration, education, and cooperation. They envisioned a galaxy where humans and Xylar could learn from one another, thrive together, and face challenges side by side. Lyra rested her head on Adrian's shoulder. "Our bond has changed more than just us," she whispered. "It has begun to change the universe, one heart at a time." Adrian smiled, feeling hope like never before. "Then we will continue, together, not just as soldier and diplomat, or human and Xylar, but as partners, as equals, and as proof of what can be achieved when hearts are open, outside." The twin moons glimmered over the palace gardens, the streams of crystal water reflecting light like stars. Life in Xylar Prime continued, richer and brighter because of the courage and humanity Adrian had brought, and the wisdom and grace Lyra had shared. Together, they had sparked a story that would be remembered not for conflict or conquest, but for love, unity, and the limitless potential of humans to inspire, protect, and connect. And as they looked out over the glowing forests and valleys, Adrian understood that the most extraordinary battles were not fought with weapons, but with heart, empathy, and courage, the true marks of humanity. Their journey was far from over, but for the first time, they faced the future not with fear, but with hope, partnership, and the knowledge that love, trust, and understanding could overcome even the greatest divides. The galaxy, it seemed, was watching and learning. The morning sun of Xylar Prime spilled gold and violet across the palace gardens, reflecting off crystal leaves and the shimmering pools. Captain Adrian Cade stood at the balcony, gazing out at the horizon. The beauty of the alien world still amazed him, but he felt tension simmering beneath the surface. The human and Xylar councils had been informed of his union with Lyra, and while the human officials had offered cautious support, the Xylar elders were far less welcoming. Lyra appeared at his side, her violet eyes calm yet thoughtful. "The council has begun questioning our union," she said softly. "Some believe it breaks tradition, others fear what humans bring." Adrian nodded, understanding the delicate balance he now faced. He had faced alien armies and deadly missions before, but navigating cultural distrust required a different kind of skill. One misstep could end the fragile trust between species. Yet, he also knew that his humanity, his compassion, courage, and honesty could be a bridge if he approached it correctly. They fear what they do not understand. He said quietly, "We cannot control their thoughts, but we can show them our intentions. We can show them the strength of humanity." Lyra's expression softened. "I believe that, Adrian, but they will watch closely. Every gesture, every word. They will judge it." Adrian took a deep breath. "Then we must act with patience and courage, just as we did last night. Trust is built slowly, not forced." The first council meeting was tense. Xylar elders, tall and imposing, studied Adrian with piercing eyes. They were adorned in ceremonial robes that reflected their status, their expressions unreadable. Humans sat on the opposite side, still wary but hopeful, their uniforms neat and formal. Adrian felt the weight of history pressing down on him. He and Lyra were not just individuals, they were symbols of the future of two civilizations. The discussion began cautiously. Questions came first, polite yet probing. Captain Cade, an elder, asked, "Do you understand the responsibilities of uniting with a Xylar through marriage?" Adrian met the elder's gaze calmly. "I do," he said firmly. "I understand that this is not only a bond between two beings, but a trust between two peoples. I am here to honor that trust and to learn. I will respect Lyra, her culture, and her people." There was a pause, the room quiet. Lyra placed a hand lightly on his arm, a subtle gesture of support. The elder studied him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Others murmured, some skeptical, some intrigued. Adrian realized that actions, not words, would carry more weight in the days to come. After the meeting, Adrian and Lyra retreated to the gardens. Lyra's expression was guarded but relieved. "You handled them well," she said. "Your honesty, it is rare among humans." "I think some of the council began to see it," Adrian shrugged, though a small smile appeared. "It is not easy," he admitted, "but I have learned that courage is not only about facing danger on the battlefield. It is also about standing for what is right, even when eyes are upon you." Lyra's eyes sparkled. "Then perhaps we are stronger together than they realize." That evening, a sudden alert shook the palace. Reports came in that a portion of Xylar Prime's northern forests had begun to destabilize. A rare storm, intensified by unusual energy readings, threatened both wildlife and the delicate ecological balance. The council panicked, unsure how to respond. Adrian felt a surge of determination. "Take me to the northern forests," he said. "I have experience with crisis situations. Perhaps I can help stabilize it." Lyra hesitated. "It is dangerous. The storm is unlike anything humans have faced here." Adrian's gaze was steady. "I understand. But fear alone does not solve problems. We act, we observe, and we adapt. Let me try." Lyra studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "Very well, but you will not go alone." They arrived at the edge of the northern forest as the storm approached. Trees, glowing faintly with bioluminescence, bent under gusts of wind. Streams overflowed, threatening to wash away entire sections of the ecosystem. Lyra's people had knowledge, but their traditional methods were slow and cautious. Adrian quickly assessed the situation. "Listen to me," he said calmly to a group of Xylar engineers. We need to divert the water and reinforce the root structures of these plants. Follow my instructions, step by step. Trust that we can solve this together." The Xyler hesitated, uncertain about a human taking the lead. But Lyra's nod reassured them. They began working under Adrian's direction, following his strategic instructions. Using a combination of human ingenuity and Xyler technology, they built channels to redirect the water and stabilize the forest. Adrian climbed the tallest trees himself, guiding the placement of energy stabilizers with precision and care. Lyra watched him from below, her admiration growing. Humans possessed a combination of bravery, adaptability, and creative thinking that her people rarely displayed. Even in the midst of danger, Adrian remained calm, confident, and humane. Hours passed, and the storm gradually lost its strength. The forest remained intact, its delicate balance preserved. Adrian stood on a hill overlooking the valley, exhausted but satisfied. Lyra approached him, her expression a mixture of relief and admiration. You saved this forest," she said softly, "not just with skill, but with courage and heart. Your people, humans, you are extraordinary." Adrian smiled, wiping sweat from his brow. "We survive because we must, but we thrive when we care. This forest, your people's home, it mattered. I couldn't let it fail." Lyra's hand brushed his again, a simple yet intimate gesture. "You have proven something tonight, not just to me, but to all of us. Humans are capable of more than I imagined, perhaps. Together, we can face whatever challenges lie ahead." Adrian met her gaze. "We will. Not because of rules or orders, but because we choose to." The bond between them deepened that night. It was no longer just trust, it was mutual respect and admiration. They had faced danger together and discovered the strength in each other. The council would eventually see this, whether they accepted it or not. And for Adrian and Lyra, the personal connection they had begun would guide them through future challenges. The following days brought new challenges. Cultural misunderstandings arose as humans struggled with certain Xyler customs and vice versa. Meals, communication styles, and daily rituals all became potential points of tension. But Adrian approached each situation with patience and curiosity. Instead of dismissing differences, he observed, asked questions, and adapted. Lyra watched him quietly, impressed. "Your patience is remarkable," she said one afternoon. "Most humans would become frustrated quickly, but you see value in understanding." Adrian shrugged, smiling. "I have seen what misunderstanding can do. Wars often begin because people fail to see each other's perspectives. I refuse to repeat that mistake here." In quiet moments, away from the council and palace officials, Adrian and Lyra explored each other's worlds. He learned the subtleties of Xyler culture, the symbolism in their ceremonies, the connection they felt to their planet, and their philosophies on harmony and balance. She, in turn, learned about human resilience, ingenuity, and the capacity for emotion that often drove humans to achieve the impossible. Together, they realized that their strengths complemented each other. Adrian's courage and decisiveness blended with Lyra's wisdom and grace. They were learning that love, even if forbidden by some rules, could bridge worlds. It was not the passion of the battlefield or the thrill of exploration, it was something quieter, deeper, and more profound. One night, under the twin moons once more, they returned to the secret garden. Adrian knelt by a pool, tossing small stones that skipped across the crystal water. Lyra joined him, and they spoke softly about their hopes for the future. "Humans often fear the unknown," Lyra said. "But you embrace it, not with recklessness, but with courage and thought. I see now why your people endure so much. Your hearts are strong." Adrian looked at her, feeling a warmth in his chest. "I've learned that survival alone is not enough. We need trust, understanding, and care. And sometimes, we need someone to guide us through what seems impossible." Lyra reached out, placing her hand over his. "Then perhaps we are guiding each other. Perhaps this bond, though forbidden by some, is exactly what both our peoples need." As the moons reflected in their joined hands, Adrian realized something profound. It was not just love he felt, it was a responsibility, a partnership, and a shared purpose. The challenges ahead would be many, but together they could face them. Together they could show the councils, and perhaps the galaxy, that humanity's courage, empathy, and ingenuity were forces to be celebrated, not feared. The night faded into dawn, the garden alive with gentle light. For Adrian and Lyra, the bond forged in crisis and mutual understanding had grown stronger. Their love was no longer just a personal connection, it was a symbol, a bridge between worlds, and the first step towards something extraordinary. And as they stood together, looking out over the forests they had saved, Adrian knew that the path ahead would be difficult, but it was one worth taking. For the first time, he understood that the greatest battles were not fought with weapons, but with heart, trust, and the courage to embrace the unknown. The night had deepened over Xylar Prime, yet the palace gardens remained alive with soft, shimmering light. Captain Adrian Cade and Lyra lingered beneath the twin moons, their hands brushing occasionally, a gentle connection forming without words. Despite the beauty surrounding them, Adrian felt the familiar tension of uncertainty. He was a soldier trained for war, not for the delicate intricacies of diplomacy or companionship with an alien. Yet Lyra's presence, calm and patient, seemed to dissolve his unease bit by bit after a long pause. Lyra stood and gestured toward a pathway lined with glowing crystal flowers. "There is much to see," she said softly. "I would like to show you the places that matter to me." Adrian nodded, following her carefully. He noticed how gracefully she moved, each step measured and light, yet purposeful. Her eyes, deep and violet, scanned the surroundings constantly, absorbing every detail. Adrian felt a growing admiration. Humans had been taught to rely on their instincts in war, but Lyra's awareness, her attentiveness to her environment, reminded him that there were other ways to be strong. They walked in silence for a while, the only sounds the gentle ripple of floating streams and the soft hum of the palace's energy fields. Finally, they arrived at a secluded terrace overlooking a vast valley, its surface covered with iridescent flora that glimmered under the moons. Adrian inhaled sharply. He had seen many worlds during his service, but this was unlike anything he had imagined. Lyra gestured for him to sit on a stone bench embedded with tiny crystals. "This is where I come when I need peace," she said. "Away from rules, away from the eyes of the council. It is where I think, and sometimes, where I dream." Adrian studied her. "It's beautiful," he said. "I can understand why you come here. It feels alive." Lyra smiled faintly. "Everything here is alive, if you know how to see it. The streams, the plants, even the air itself carries energy. Humans. You have a different kind of life force, more subtle, yet incredibly strong." Adrian felt a strange warmth at her words. Few had ever noticed the life force he carried, not the muscles or training, but the quiet persistence, the human ability to endure, to hope. "I guess we are different," he said quietly, "but maybe not in the ways people expect." Lyra tilted her head, curiosity sparking in her eyes. "Tell me," she said. "You are a soldier. You have faced danger, fought battles, yet you do not seem hardened. You carry something else, something beyond survival. What is it?" Adrian hesitated. He had always hidden the depth of his feelings, the loneliness that came with years of war. But something in Lyra's gaze invited honesty. "I've seen much suffering," he admitted. "I've lost friends, homes, worlds even. But I have also learned that survival is not enough. Life is more than winning battles. It is about connection, trust, compassion." Lyra listened intently, nodding slowly. "Compassion," she repeated. "A human trait I admire. So many of my people have power, knowledge, and control, but few understand compassion. You, however, seem to carry it naturally." Adrian felt a mixture of pride and embarrassment. Compliments were rare in his world, especially from beings like Lyra, I suppose. "It comes from necessity," he said. "When you see enough suffering, you learn to care. It becomes instinctive." Lyra leaned closer, her expression thoughtful. "And yet you are here, on a foreign planet, among strangers. And you continue to show patience and respect. That is rare." They fell into a comfortable silence, watching the valley below. Adrian's mind wandered. He had imagined this first night with Lyra would be awkward, perhaps cold. But instead, it was gentle, a slow unfolding of curiosity and trust. It was not the kind of connection he had known in human life on the battlefield. There was no time for subtlety, but here, with her, he felt the possibility of something deeper. Lyra broke the silence. "Would you like to see something few humans ever witness?" she asked. Adrian's eyes widened. Of course. She led him down a narrow staircase that spiraled round a crystalline tower, their footsteps echoing softly. At the bottom, a hidden door opened into a cavern illuminated by soft, pulsating lights. The room was filled with delicate plants and small pools of water, each reflecting the colors of the moons above. Adrian stepped carefully, marveling at the alien ecosystem thriving in perfect balance. "This is my secret garden," Lyra said, her voice barely above a whisper. "It is forbidden to most outsiders. Only those I trust may enter." Adrian looked at her, surprised. "You trust me?" Lyra's gaze met his, steady and unflinching. "I do," she said simply. "Trust is not given lightly among my people. And yet, something about you, I feel I can." The admission sent a shiver through Adrian, a mixture of honor and awe. Few humans, he knew, had ever earned such a statement from a Xyler. He felt the weight of responsibility and also the excitement of connection. "I will honor that trust," he promised. For the next hour, they explored the garden together. Lyra pointed out plants with medicinal properties, flowers that glowed when touched, and streams that sang with the energy of the planet. Adrian listened and asked questions, fascinated by her knowledge and care for life. He realized that this was more than a garden, it was a reflection of Lyra herself, beautiful, delicate, yet strong and purposeful. Eventually, they settled by a small pool where the water shimmered like liquid crystal. Adrian knelt beside it, dipping a hand into the cool liquid. Lyra sat beside him, her presence calm and grounding. "Humans are resilient," she said softly. "You can endure pain, loss, and fear, and yet still find hope. I have never seen such strength in my people." Adrian looked at her, surprised by the compliment. "I suppose it comes from necessity," he repeated. "But your people, you have knowledge, grace, and patience. You have strength too, in ways I cannot measure." Lyra's hand brushed against his again, tentative but deliberate. "Perhaps our strengths complement each other," she said. "Perhaps we can learn from one another." Adrian felt a warmth in his chest, a sense of possibility he had not experienced in years of war. He realized that this first night, meant to be simple and ceremonial, was becoming something far more profound. It was a night of understanding, of trust, and of discovering the humanity in each other despite species differences. Hours passed, and the first hints of dawn began to color the sky. Adrian and Lyra sat in quiet companionship, sharing stories of their pasts. He spoke of battles fought, of planets lost, and of moments of courage and compassion in the face of despair. Lyra shared her own history, the weight of her duties, and the curiosity that had led her to question traditions. Through these stories, a bond formed, built on respect and admiration. Curiosity and understanding. At one point, Adrian noticed a small bird-like creature perched on a branch, glowing softly in the dawn light. Lyra smiled. "This species is rare," she said. "It only appears when trust and harmony exist in the space around it." Adrian chuckled softly. "Then it seems we have created the right conditions." Lyra's violet eyes sparkled. "Perhaps we have," she said, a hint of amusement in her voice. "Or perhaps it is the beginning of something more. Something forbidden by rules, yet inevitable by choice." Adrian met her gaze, understanding her meaning without words. There was a connection growing between them, one that transcended duty and expectation. It was not just the bond of marriage, they were discovering each other's souls, learning to trust and respect in ways that neither species had anticipated. As the sun began to rise, casting the valley in warm gold and violet hues, Adrian felt a new sense of purpose. His life had been defined by battles and orders, but now it was also defined by this alien world and the extraordinary being beside him. He realized that courage was not only facing enemies, but also embracing trust, curiosity, and vulnerability. Lyra turned to him, her expression soft. "Captain Cade, Tonight has shown me that humans are capable of great heart and understanding. Perhaps together, we can face the challenges ahead and discover what love truly means, even if it is forbidden by those around us." Adrian nodded, feeling a surge of determination. "I will face it with you," he said firmly, not as a soldier, but as a human capable of hope, trust, and connection. They stood together, watching the twin moons fade as the first light of Xylar Prime's dawn filled the sky. It was the beginning of first night of discovery that would mark the start of an extraordinary journey. A journey not of war, but of understanding, unity, and the quiet, profound power of the human heart. And for the first time, Adrian understood something he had never realized before: that love, when nurtured with respect, courage, and trust, could be just as heroic as any battle he had ever fought. The twin moons hung low in the sky, their pale light reflecting off the crystalline forest of Xylar Prime. Captain Adrian Cade stepped off the transport ship, his boots crunching softly on the metallic surface of the landing platform. He had spent most of his life in the battlefield, fighting in wars that spanned galaxies. But nothing had prepared him for this moment. Nothing could have prepared him for standing on a foreign planet, on the edge of an alien world, about to marry a being from a species he barely understood. Adrian's chest tightened. He was a soldier, trained to face enemies, to take calculated risks in the chaos of battle. But this was different. This was not war. This was diplomacy, and it came wrapped in a strange, intimate form he had never encountered. He adjusted his uniform, the insignia of his human regiment gleaming in the moonlight, and took a deep breath. The palace ahead rose like a fortress of crystal and steel, its spires reaching toward the stars. It was beautiful, elegant, and intimidating all at once. He remembered the orders clearly. His mission was simple in theory: unite humans and Xylar in a political alliance through marriage. But simple ideas often became complicated in practice, especially when they involved hearts. He had not seen his bride, not in person, only in holographic images sent by the Xylar Council. The pictures had shown a being of ethereal beauty, with skin that shimmered faintly under light and eyes that seemed to hold galaxies within them. Adrian had looked at the images countless times, trying to memorize every detail. But he knew that meeting her in reality would be entirely different. The doors of the palace opened with a soft hum, and he was greeted by a corridor that pulsed with soft, bioluminescent light. The walls seemed alive, like the veins of some great creature, and the air smelled faintly of jasmine and metal. A Xylar attendant stepped forward, bowing deeply. "Captain Adrian Cade, welcome to the Palace of the Twin Moons. Your bride awaits." Adrian nodded, his throat tight. "Thank you." His voice sounded small in the vast hall. He followed the attendant through winding corridors, each turn revealing more of the palace's alien beauty. Gardens floated in midair, streams of liquid crystal flowing between hovering platforms. He had fought on warships and battlefields, but never had he seen a place so alive, so vibrant. Finally, they reached the main hall, and there she was. Lyra stood at the far end, framed by the twin moons outside a massive window. She was even more breathtaking than the holograms had suggested. Her skin had a soft, pearlescent glow, and her eyes were a deep violet that seemed to pierce into Adrian's very soul. Her hair flowed like liquid silver, moving gently as if stirred by an unseen wind. She wore a ceremonial gown of delicate fabrics that shimmered with every color of the moons above. She was staring at him now, and Adrian felt an unfamiliar flutter in his chest. This was not an enemy to defeat, nor an ally to negotiate with. It was a living being, beautiful and mysterious, with thoughts and emotions that he could not yet grasp. "Captain Cade," she said, her voice soft but clear, carrying a musical quality that made Adrian pause. "Welcome to Xylar Prime." He bowed slightly, the formal gesture feeling awkward but necessary. "Thank you, Lyra. It is an honor." She nodded once, her expression unreadable. Adrian noticed a flicker of something in her eyes: curiosity, perhaps, or caution. They were two strangers, brought together by politics and necessity. Yet something unspoken already passed between them. The ceremony was brief. Xylar traditions were elegant and precise, filled with gestures and phrases that Adrian tried to follow. He stumbled occasionally, but Lyra's gentle guidance helped him through each step. When the final words were spoken, and their hands were bound in the ceremonial knot, Adrian realized the weight of what had just happened. He was no longer just a soldier. He was a husband, bound to an alien woman in a bond that neither of their societies fully understood. After the ceremony, the guests departed, leaving Adrian and Lyra alone in the palace gardens. The twin moons cast a silver glow over the crystalline flora, turning the garden into a place of unreal beauty. Soft light reflected off the leaves, creating shadows that danced across the ground like living creatures. The air smelled of jasmine and fresh rain, and a gentle breeze stirred the surface of the floating streams. Adrian took a cautious step forward. "It's a beautiful," he said, his voice low. "I've never seen anything like it." Lyra smiled faintly, a small, almost shy curve of her lips. "This is my sanctuary," she said. "Few are allowed here. I tend to it when I need peace. Tonight, I wanted to share it with you." Adrian felt a pang of guilt. He had been trained to fight, to kill, to survive. He had spent years in wars that left him numb. And yet, standing here, he felt emotions he had not allowed himself to feel in a long time. Awe, curiosity, and a strange, compelling fascination. He wanted to know her. He wanted to understand the world she came from, and perhaps even share a part of himself. They walked along the floating paths, their steps careful on the delicate bridges over streams of crystal water. Lyra pointed out rare plants, explaining their significance in soft, melodic tones. Adrian listened, fascinated. These were not just alien plants, they were living symbols of a culture rich in history and knowledge. Her passion for them reflected a mind sharp and curious, unlike anything he had encountered in human politics. At one point, a soft mist rose from the ground, and Lyra paused, her gaze turning toward the moons. "You fight for your people," she said quietly. "I can see it in your eyes. But you also carry something else. A longing, perhaps, for a world beyond conflict." Adrian blinked. Her words struck him deeply. I've seen a lot of war," he admitted. "I've learned to survive, but sometimes I wonder if there's more to life than fighting." She studied him, her violet eyes reflecting both the moonlight and something else understanding. "There is," she said simply, "and sometimes the most unexpected paths can lead us to it, for the first time since arriving." Adrian felt a sense of hope, not for the mission, not for diplomacy, but for a future he could not yet imagine. A future with her. As the night deepened, they found a quiet bench beneath a flowering tree whose petals glowed faintly in the moonlight. They sat together in silence, each lost in thought. Adrian's hand hovered near Lyra's, unsure whether such a gesture would be welcomed or considered rude. To his surprise, she reached out first, her fingers brushing against his. The touch was gentle, tentative, yet it carried warmth and unspoken acknowledgement of trust. Adrian felt a strange comfort in that simple contact. He realized that despite the differences between them species, culture, even the language of their hearts, there was a connection that transcended all of it. Something pure, something powerful, and perhaps something forbidden. Lyra spoke after a long pause. "Captain Cade, you are human. I have heard stories of your people, brave, resourceful, full of heart. I see it in you now. Do not think that your past defines you. You can still choose your path." Adrian met her gaze. "I want to understand you," he said. "And I want to learn what this bond means, beyond rules and ceremonies." A faint smile appeared on Lyra's lips, the first genuine expression of warmth he had seen. "Then perhaps the night is ours to discover," she said softly. They sat together beneath the twin moons, the palace garden alive round them. For the first time, Adrian felt that he was not just a soldier, not just a human fighting for survival, but something more, a man stepping into a world of wonder, trust, and possibility. The night stretched on, filled with quiet conversation, shared laughter at their cultural misunderstandings, and long silences that spoke louder than words. Adrian learned that bravery was not only about facing enemies on a battlefield, but also about opening one's heart to another being. Lyra learned that humans were capable of depth and kindness, qualities she had rarely seen among her own kind. As the first hints of dawn appeared on the horizon, painting the sky in soft shades of pink and violet. Adrian realized that this was only the beginning. The journey ahead would not be easy. There would be challenges, misunderstandings, and scrutiny from both humans and Xylar alike. But in that moment, under the twin moons of Xylar Prime, he felt a spark that could grow into something extraordinary. Perhaps even the most forbidden love ever told. He did not yet know the path. But he knew one thing. He would face it with courage, honor, and a heart open to the impossible. For the first night with his alien bride had revealed not only her world, but also the hidden depths of his own humanity, and as Lyra rested her hand gently on his, Adrian felt the weight of history, duty, and destiny merge into a single truth: love, in its purest form, could be the greatest adventure of all.